podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
There's no question with that.
Hello, Ed. How you doing?
Very good, thanks, Paul. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Are you socially distanced still?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just cracking on keeping up the stuff. I mean, I think everyone's feeling like it's been a long time now, but to me, this isn't quite. It's not time to. I don't know if I said this last time, but it's not time to start going, are we nearly there yet? Are we nearly there yet? Are we nearly there yet?
I have a 3-year-old and a 7-year-old boy in my house, and I spend an awful lot of time in their company.
Yeah.
Charming little fellows they are.
And I bet there's a lot of, are we nearly there yet? Right.
Yeah, from me, mainly.
So is football coming home? Is football nearly there yet? What's going on? I've not paid any attention.
Well, it won't be coming home. It literally won't be coming home because the proposal at the moment is to play neutral grounds. So 2 concerns here. One around health and safety. So how can they bring football back and it be safe for the players, broadcasters, staff members, ancillary people who need to be at a game for it to just function. So there's definitely no proposal to have fans in games at the moment. So it looks like the Premier League are going down the German ghost games route. And then the second thing is to ensure that fans don't start gathering outside of stadiums while the game is on. So I don't know how real this is. There's a really patronising video from the Liverpool city mayor or council member.
No.
I don't know whether you've seen this one. Basically saying, I mean, he doesn't say this, but he basically implies football fans are idiots and they'll all gather in groups outside of stadiums.
I mean, you say it's patronising.
Well be...
Yeah, I was going to say that the kind of tail end of football showed us, United fans travelled to a game that was being played behind closed doors in another country. The PSG thing was absolutely insane. That gathering. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Oh no. They were both bad. I mean, 1,000 United fans went and stood on a hill outside the ground in a COVID-19 hotspot, which wasn't exactly sensible. More sensible than 50,000 people gathering at Anfield for Liverpool versus Atletico coming from Madrid. Anyway, don't need to really litigate that one. So it looks like neutral grounds and a lot of testing paid for by the Premier League, which, at £30,000 a week or something, they're saying is nothing in terms of costs. Of course, there's a kind of optics thing that the Premier League will have to do there. Not enough tests in the general community to allow social distancing measures to be scaled back, but they will find the tests privately. So they'll have to manage the optics there. Of course, the government claiming that they've hit their daily testing target with a little bit of manipulation of the figures, should we say, might help them in their argument there. And it seems like the government is actually on football side because it's part of their sort of we're moving on strategy, which is kind of interesting just a few weeks after football was also used to deflect attention from real problems, but in a very different way. Anyway, so that's what's happening at the moment. Negotiations and interesting piece. I think it was in The Guardian or maybe The Times today, Sunday, saying that most clubs are on board with this, but the clubs that are in immediate threat of relegation are less on board. They think that the fact they're being played at neutral grounds makes the games sufficiently different enough that they're worried that it'll negatively impact them. Now, everyone's in the same boat, I suppose, you could argue. Not playing at home, not having their home advantage, they wouldn't have their away disadvantage either. So I don't know whether that argument really holds water, but it's being used as leverage to potentially stop any relegation this year. So complete the season, no relegation, 2 up, 22-team season. The next season, whenever that starts, whether it's 2020 or 2021, and then 5 relegated from that campaign, something like that.
I mean, that sounds vaguely logical. You know, it's these are just such complicated matters, and obviously, I mean, this is a football podcast, so we're talking about football. Inevitably, we have to kind of put some caveat in that football doesn't actually matter that much in the scale of things.
Sure.
But
I feel like we could just have a general caveat at the beginning of the show going, yes, we know football doesn't matter that much in the scale of things. People are dying. That's more important. But we are a football podcast, and we're talking about football.
Exactly.
And what's going on in football right now is, can we get back to playing? Because, and there was a very good op-ed written by the Crystal Palace CEO, whose name I'm completely forgetting.
It's definitely not Simon Jordan, right?
It's definitely not Simon Jordan. It's actually someone who's sensible and not a lunatic, and basically making the case, saying, yes, we do need the money. And, and that bit I'm slightly less sympathetic about, because I think Premier League clubs just have to reallocate capital. Their capital structure would have to change. They almost don't have to just get rid of players. Sell them, make them free, whatever. Days of £50 million transfers are gone for the time being. And except in a few exceptional circumstances, and I don't think this summer. So I think Premier League clubs can survive. There are apparently a couple who are really short on cash. Bournemouth is probably obviously one, who rely much more heavily on commercials and gate revenue and match day. But lower down the leagues, that's where you do get a really catastrophic effect of having no actual games on, or having games behind closed doors if it comes back, and the money won't be flowing down from the Premier League, which it does, even though people do complain about inequality between the top leagues and the bottom leagues. A lot of money does flow down. So, it matters for everybody in the industry. It's also a £6 billion a year industry, which is small in industrial terms, but there is that, there is a kickback to the exchequer if people are worried about the potential cost to medical services.
Yeah. And the public mood, public morale, providing people with something to do to keep them at home, which is, is going to get harder and harder, especially as the messaging is like, hey, everyone, it's kind of getting better. It's like, I understand why as a government you're trying to sell that story, but you've got to be so careful. But anyway, let's not go down that tangent. One of the things I wanted to say that I don't know if you and I have even talked about, but Woodward basically came out and said the thing that we've been saying, especially you've been saying because you've been paying much closer attention to it than me, week in, week out, which is there's not going to be huge transfers this summer. And I saw just a little bit of him getting stick, and I thought, well, I mean, it's obviously a rod he's made for his own back, but I actually think there's a level of kind of wildly irresponsible journalism in very inverted commas that's still kind of like, well, where are we going to get clicks from? Where are we going to, like, our industry's falling apart, so at least if we put Sancho United 150 million in a headline, lots of people will click on it. But I thought Woodward was the right thing for him to do, to come out and say that stuff. Yeah,
it was a letter to a fan forum. Look, it's perfectly, actually, just take that statement word for word, and it's perfectly sensible. There will not be much of a market this summer. And in fact, there'll be loads and loads of bargains. He didn't say this piece, but there will be teams that just have to get rid of players, even if it's to get those players off the wage bill, because they just can't afford it. They just won't have the cash. So anyone who has a sensible transfer strategy and the backing of the right kind of analytics and has all their lists compiled and done their homework, which they've got plenty of time to do right now. I mean, apparently United scouts are sitting in front of TVs watching hours upon hours of videos of players, which is exactly what they should be doing. So United should be in a actually pretty good position, because they are in a reasonably strong position comparatively to the rest of European football. So, but he's right. There won't be huge transfers, and it's ridiculous to think there will be. They not only have they lost this period of revenue from gates, the 9 matches plus all the cup games they won't get back is millions for a club like United. But there's an awful lot of money being threatened from those broadcast contracts. And it's not just this broadcast contract. It's the next one as well, being negotiated amidst an economic depression. Likely won't be as good. And one final thing just on football coming back. A couple of trial balloon stories floated. One, Sky might use CGI fans. Please don't. Just don't pretend something is something it's not. I mean, it's not going to be ideal at all. In fact, there's many fans, I think, with good justification, are saying something along the lines of, "Look, football is about fans, and we don't want it if there's no fans there." And I understand that LASK game was pretty miserable, wasn't it? Not like zero atmosphere. Great goal from Odeon, of course, but so let's not do that.
No,
it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I just speaking completely personally, I have, beyond the kind of like wishing people well and hoping, wanting people not to lose their jobs and things go out of business and stuff, I have no personal like rush to be like, oh, I can't wait to just watch some football I've never seen before. That just not at all. The thing that I'm looking forward to is when things are in a position that we can go to Old Trafford. That's honestly the thing that I'm looking forward to. I couldn't say that I'll be like champing at the bit to watch some behind the closed door league fixtures to see if United get top 4 this season and all that kind of thing. It feels very empty, really. And well, of course, it will feel literally empty, won't it? So,
Well, and very quickly, actually, because Liverpool are going to wrap up the title if we're playing out this season fairly quickly, one would assume. And if there's no relegation, there's going to be an awful lot of matches that mean absolutely nothing, and they'll just be like training games. An awful lot. And with City likely still banned from Europe, because I don't see how UEFA can back down on that one, there is some competition for those Champions League places, but it's not a lot of clubs involved in that competition. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot of meaningless games.
Absolutely. Just on a slight tangent, Jimmy Anderson was asked, how do you feel about potentially playing cricket behind closed doors? And of course he said, I've played a lot of county cricket.
Yes.
It's good.
Yeah, 3 blokes sleeping and they're all octogenarians.
Yeah. All right, should we take a quick break, cleanse the palate and come back with some actual olden days football chat? So, the 1977 FA Cup final between Liverpool and Manchester United. For some context, United finished, Liverpool were champions and on the way to a European Cup final. Boo. Lots of talk about a treble. Boo. Did they win the treble? Did they?
Did they?
There's a couple of things I wanted to say about context. So United finished 10 points behind Liverpool, which is actually 15 points by today's money because it was 2 points for a win in those days. And I think it is literally, they had the same number of draws and finished 5 wins behind Liverpool, basically. But in the tunnel before the game, the cameras are in the Wembley tunnel before the game. It's all friendly chats and handshakes. Oh,
absolute disgrace!
I thought they all hated each other in those days. They were just punching each other in the tunnel. It turns out,
well, they loved it. When did Souness turn up at Liverpool? Because maybe that's when the hatred started.
Maybe so. Like maybe that was just the year after. He'd have been fuming watching the Jimmy Case, legendary Liverpool hard man, and just United and Liverpool sharing perfectly polite and friendly exchanges in the tunnel. So
wouldn't have that. Souness wouldn't have that. Well, one thing that struck me as well. The other thing that struck me was talking of adverts, which we may have come back from. Probably not.
Probably not.
Has died.
Yeah.
So was all the old school hoardings around the pitch, and quite a lot of companies that no longer exist. We had Rizla. I think they still exist. Pot smoker's drink. Yeah, I think Chessington Zoo Survey, which was a bit. Is that now what is Chessington Park theme park?
Chessington Zoo, yeah. Because the theme park, Chessington World of Adventures, has got a zoo built into it.
Right. I don't know what the survey bit about it. Hot Point, lots of Hot Point. Hot Point still exists.
Yeah.
Midland Bank, which I believe is now HSBC.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Decca.
I don't even remember what that is.
Record label.
Okay, yeah. Well, they all just are. They're just all Sony now, right?
Yeah, well, there's only like 4 record labels. And then Trenton Trelleborg, a bit odd. I mean, a random fishing port in Sweden or wherever.
Right.
Norway, I think.
Is that what it was, an advert for a fishing port? Like, come here and fish. And the thing about the Rizzler ad that I noticed is it was like green, red, blue Rizzler. And for some reason, I assumed that blue Rizzler were a later invention. Because I remember when silver Rizzler were invented, and I kind of thought they just hadn't quite mastered thin paper technology by 1977, but apparently they had. The whole I skipped quite a lot of the national anthem "Abide with Me" stuff because it's just nationalism. I'm never like nationalism, but right now, I just literally can't handle it. So I skipped forward through some of that. But it was lovely to see Tommy Doc. So, Ed, for our younger listeners, and really even for listeners of our generation, I don't remember Tommy Docherty being United manager, obviously, because I think he was only here for another... another year, and I was 1.
No, in fact, wasn't he sacked this summer? This is 77.
Yeah.
He's sacked this summer, and Dave Sexton comes in.
Right. Yeah. But Tommy Docherty, just a sort of football legend, really.
Yeah, well, by this time he'd been at United 4 years or so. He came in with the club in, heading down, basically, in disarray. Really poor quality squad, complete mismanagement by the club of the Busby transition to O'Farrell, then back to Busby, load of retiring stars, poor purchases, the whole lot. And then United went down with Docherty, and then he brought them back up, playing what fans that were part of that, and I'm not old enough to have been part of that time, describe as sort of attacking, useful, ebullient football, which we see quite a lot of in this FA Cup final, I have to say. And it's, you kind of really get, it's only one game, of course, but you get a kind of sense of the time. I mean, if anyone's interested, Wayne Barton, friend of the show, wrote a book on the Docherty Sexton years, and I interviewed him about it before the crisis hit, so back in the last international break.
That was about the Sexton Atkinson years, wasn't it?
Sexton Atkinson. Yeah, we talked a lot about Docherty because just the transition into Sexton. So it's kind of, interesting chat about this kind of sort of part of the time year. But anyway, Docherty, fascinating character. And of course, what we didn't know, the context, of course, is that he was boshing the physio's wife at this very point in time, which is probably, why he's looking so happy all the time.
He was sacked for that. That's why he lost his job. That's there was no football reason, because it was quite an achievement to come. So this is the season. 2 seasons before this, they're in the second division.
Yeah,
and so they come up. They get to the final the season before against Southampton, lose that. Although that was 75.
76.
Anyway,
76.
That was 76. Great. So, yeah. So that's the year before, and they're back at Wembley now. Part of this kind of like period where United become a cup team. The one thing that I think is another important part of the context is this is only 9 years after the last game we watched. And in that 9 years, football has gone from olden days to something approaching nowadays. Just everything about the coverage. Maybe this is just because I grew up with Brian Moore, but Brian Moore feels like a real sort of staging post between Wolfenshome and, Jonathan Pearce.
I mean, I have a few things to say about Brian Moore, but we'll get to that. Yeah. Not my favourite. I wish we'd had the BBC coverage because, of course, in those days they both covered it. Both covered the FA Cup final, and Motson did the... Not that Motson's been my favourite commentator, but I like him a lot more than Brian Moore for reasons.
The Brian Moore thing is fascinating to me because I had this sort of sense memory when he was talking, I started to slightly drift off. And I realised this is not because the match was boring or I was even particularly tired or whatever. I just remember a lot as a kid getting super excited about there being a football match on TV in the afternoon, working myself up into a frenzy and then falling asleep during the match to Brian Moore's soothing tones. But Jack Tarleton's the co-commentator, and it's a much more recognisable co-commentator vibe.
For sure.
And Charlton is analysing the formations. He's talking about the style of play of the two teams, their strengths and weaknesses. There's a grammar around live football coverage which just didn't exist in 1968.
Yes, he's not verbose, Charlton. I mean, he's kind of to the point and more editorialises for him a little bit. Kind of summarises what he thinks that Charlton meant to say in 3 words in 50. But yes, it's much more sort of recognisable. The graphics are laughable, which is great. I mean, they stick the score up every now and again with a clock, which is impossible to read. You're going what is it saying? Just say how many minutes are gone, man. You can put a digital clock up there.
It's a bar that was filling around the outside. That clock.
Yeah, no, I know, but it takes some interpretation.
It does.
Yeah. Anyway, should we talk about the teams? Because I think in the teams there's going to be an awful lot of, even for people of our age or younger, names that you'd recognise. I think, and in the Liverpool side too. So Liverpool have this kind of much more flexible, sophisticated system than United. I mean, for sure, right? It's basically a 4-3-3, but there's a lot of players floating. So there's Clements in goal, obviously England keeper, Phil Neal, Emlyn Hughes, you may or may not know from Question of Sport. He's a fellow dolphin lover like Carragher, he's high-pitched. Tommy Smith, Joey Jones.
Tommy Smith, actual racist. Emlyn Hughes, xenophobic at a minimum, based on his...
Yes. Tommy Smith, actual racist. See, there was a time when, it's all come out exactly how racist Tommy Smith was. There was also that other incident when he kicked the ball in the 1996 FA Cup final and the Red Tops went after him for claiming disability benefit. I mean, he was literally in crutches and wheelchairs most of the time. So, have some sympathy for him there because he got his benefits taken away.
Red Tops.
For kicking the ball once. Yeah, but he was racist. Case McDermott, Kennedy in midfield, all really high quality players. Keegan Johnson and Highway sort of up front. Highway and Keegan floating all over the place. So, and then in the United goal, Stepney, still in goal.
Yeah, still there. Grown a moustache, but otherwise nothing much has changed.
Still not using gloves. I was kind of curious, when do they start using gloves? It's sort of early 80s or something, isn't it?
Must be.
Nicol, Brian Greenough, Buck and Albiston at the back, who were great in this game. All of them, I think.
Albiston, I think, is the only player in this side who we grew up watching.
Yeah, because he goes on. I mean, this is one of his first games. It's a surprise that he's in the team, and he goes on to play another 500 games for United. Coppell, McElroy, Jimmy Greenough, brother of Brian Greenough, Gordon Hill, Pearson and Macari up front. So, a lot of familiar names there.
Yeah, very, very much so. I mean, one of the things about this side is of people who are 10 years older than us, this team is absolutely beloved. The kind of Gordon Hill, Steve Coppell on either flank, the strikers, McElroy and Macari, the whole thing is, it's a team that has a lot of people have a lot of affection for, and Lou Macari turned out to be an absolute legend of a person as far as we can tell. He's spent his whole adult life, he's suffered terrible personal tragedy and just done unbelievable, relentless good all the way through his post-football career.
But that's right. And I'm just talking about some of the personalities. I mean, even when I first started going to football a lot, Martin Buchan's song was being sung on the terraces. So,
wow.
So people remembered him back then in the late 80s. So.
When you said Martin Buchan's song, everybody should Google Martin Buchan's song because he wrote a diss track about the rest of the team called the Old Trafford Blues, which was released as a single, just listen to it. Goes through basically the personal and professional failings of every single person that's in this team, and is superb.
Nice. So there was an actual game as well.
Yeah.
And pretty lively it was. There's patches when it really slowed down. I was in the group chat sort of commentating along with the game, and there was a couple of patches when it was dull. But, lots of lively stuff. But United, pretty lively. A chance inside of 5 minutes for Lumakari, who sort of doesn't hit it cleanly and sort of goes into the side netting, created by Koppel, who
it's
featured.
nice build-up.
Nice build-up. I mean, United, get into this. We're going to knock it into Koppel and Hill, and they're going to run at the fullbacks just straight away, don't they?
So funny. It's so funny. This is... The clash of styles in this game couldn't be more clear. And also, you can tell, I mean, United win and it's glorious and wonderful and we are morally superior in every way, etc., etc., etc. But you can definitely tell which team has just won the league and is about to play a European Cup, and which team are like, come on, lads, let's win the FA Cup. So there's a pretty significant... I don't know about quality difference. I guess it's a quality difference, but definitely a substantial sophistication difference in the two sides.
Oh, yeah, and experience as well. I mean, there's quite a lot of young players in this United side. I mean, Albiston, obviously, Greenhoff, central defence is 24. I mean, there's lots of younger players. And Liverpool, this is obviously a very experienced Liverpool side that's been used to winning lots. So
it's interesting. There's a lot of talk about Keegan's position, and I didn't ever realise that he played a lot in midfield.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of talk about.
He was sort of the original Peter Beardsley, wasn't he? Dropped off a lot.
Yeah,
and which his kind of scoring record over his career suggests he's more a one in 3 striker rather than a 1 in 2 striker. But yeah, played in deeper positions a lot. I mean, this is his. Is this his last game for Liverpool before he moves to Hamburg? I think it might be, actually.
It's somewhere around that. No, because he plays the European Cup final.
He plays the European Cup final, in which he doesn't score, but he wins a penalty in that European Cup final.
I think he leaves in a helicopter. I think that's the thing.
Right. Yes, and he's off to Hamburg for 3 seasons there before he comes back to England, Southampton, and then Newcastle. One of 3 spells at Newcastle, none of which were particularly successful.
Martin Buchan puts in 2 massive tackles, fair tackles, but I'm not... Were you saying that his song got sung? You can see why he's the kind of player who fans on the terraces absolutely love for years to come.
Absolute
because
rock, isn't he?
Yeah, he's really good in this game and just very proper hard but fair type defender. There's some pretty good chances early on. Liverpool have a massive chance from a corner and a bit of a scramble.
Yes, there are a few sort of scary moments at the back for United. The first one comes from Koppel and Jimmy Nicol, sort of messing up at the back, and Stepney not calling, and it's headed out, and then Johnson really should have scored for Liverpool, and that's after 10 minutes. There's a foul after that. I've got a note here. So much commentary about the referee, really editorialising. Brian Moore, shaking my head, is what I wrote.
You're not a fan?
No, I think the thing I find annoying about him is he's just really sanctimonious. He's just, all throughout it, he's like, and the player shouldn't be arguing with the referee there. The referee is right. The referee said it. And in fact, he kind of makes this, at one point, Jack Charlton calls him out and says, I don't know if that's right. And Brian Moore says, the referee has said this right, so it's right. And he's kind of boring as well.
He does have a couple of nice lines, though. He says, it was little young Arthur Albiston who stopped Keegan in full flight there after a magnificent attack. And I quite liked little young Arthur Albiston. It's like, I think of Arthur Albiston as, the MUTV pundit in his 60s kind of thing.
I mean, Brian Moore's most famous line is when Arsenal beat Liverpool 2-0 at Anfield in 89, and it's the "and it's in there" line.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's, it's not as good as there's some people on the pitch.
They think it's all over. He also says replays will be on the 27th of June, and then in continuing sanctimony when all self-respecting people are thinking more of test matches than cup finals. This is part of my continuing series on trying to find the exact date when cricket references drop out of football coverage, because you don't hear them anymore. But like every old match that we are covering, somebody talks about cricket at least once.
That's true. What happens the next few? Clements tips over a Gordon Hill cross. It wasn't really a shot, but it's first sort of big sighting of Gordon Hill, who's not as good as Coppell, I'd say, in this game. Coppell's definitely involved more. There's the Albiston tackle on Keegan when he's almost through one-on-one. Absolute brilliant piece. I mean, there's a great piece about Albiston later in the game where Jack Charlton's basically invited to praise Albiston by... It's an open goal, and he's having none of it. He's like, well, he's done well defensively, but that's the first time he's got forward after he's like beaten 3 guys by steaming past them. He has to turn that into a negative. I was like, yeah, classic Jack Charlton.
The tactics, though, I mean, the level of kind of kick and run that United are playing. We talked about kick and run quite a lot in the 68 cup final, but like Busby's team had Bobby Charlton in the middle, who was metronomic compared to anyone that's in this team, and the offside trap that United are playing in this game is waffle thin. It's either going to work or it's going to be an utter catastrophe and nothing in between.
Yes, I mean, they're trying to compress the game and then get it forward as quickly as possible. I mean, it's not long ball football, it's just very direct. It's not far off early Fergie football either, so... there's some great shots of Doherty on the bench. I meant to look up who his assistant was at this time, and I can't remember off the top of my head now. But bunch of old great guys on the bench. Doherty absolutely hammering the chewing gum. I mean, he's in the Fergie school there, isn't he?
Well, this is his 3rd FA Cup final, and he's lost the other 2. So there's obviously like a huge amount on the line for him. Because the other thing about this, which is we are contractually obligated to say when talking about olden days FA Cup, is the FA Cup was absolutely massive. It wasn't like, Liverpool were on for the treble. There's no way they would have chosen not to win the FA Cup. You might argue that they'd rather win the FA Cup than the league at this time. Like the FA Cup is an enormous, enormous thing. Kids are growing up. They're not growing up wanting to win the league. They're growing up wanting to win the FA Cup.
Well, the board game's called Wembley and all that. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, I certainly do.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I did wonder something about Liverpool's tactics, where they just feel a bit ponderous at points during this game, and maybe it's just the comparison with the, Ever Ready Bunny or whatever it's called. What's it?
Yeah, something like that. Duracell Bunny.
Duracell Bunny. Sorry, wrong. Duracell, if you want to sponsor us, no problem. So, United are the Duracell bunny. They're just going. And Liverpool are much more measured, and maybe it's by comparison they feel ponderous, but at times it feels like they're just a little bit in reserve. And I do wonder whether a European Cup final 4 days later is not playing on them a little bit. Anyway, there's a few more chances before the end of... a few more pieces of action before the end of the first half. There's great chance for Kennedy. Header, he's not far out. Stepney saves with his foot at the near post. It's a good one. There's a great incident involving, I think it's a bit earlier actually, Smith fouls Albiston. And then there's a free kick. Pearson heads it. Coppell nearly gets back in again. I think he's fouled by Smith. Or maybe Smith did the foul in the first place. And claims it's a dive. And he's doing the whole... I was like, you scumbag. It's like, so wasn't a dive.
There's no diving in 1977. But there was already the diving gesture. So clearly there kind of was. Half-time comes, and then Liverpool are right on top early in the second half. Much the better of the play. Can't remember if they made any big chances, but they're definitely massively on top. But then Pearson scores an absolute cracker.
Yeah, I mean, it's McElroy and Greenoff who are involved in it. And then Pearson turns and shoots sort of low to Clements' left. I mean, if you're being harsh, you'd say it's near post, and maybe Clements could have done better. But it's a smart turn, a very clean hit.
Yeah. Keegan made the mistake and kind of headed it into the path of McIlroy. And McIlroy, just very quick thinking, heads it to Greenhalgh, who then immediately heads it on again. So there's like 3 headers in quick succession, like pinball. And Pearson, it really reminded me, it's a sort of slightly lower quality version of the first Ronaldo goal in that 2003 game where he just takes the shot really quickly. I'm not sure Pearson quite took the shot as quickly, and maybe Clements should have done a little better. There's then just a beautiful, beautiful cutaway to the United fans, and the flags are all out and the banners and those kind of stick flags and just people jumping around, an absolute bedlam.
Yeah, it was good because we hadn't got many sort of crowd shots before that, had we?
No.
I mean, it's the wide sort of shot of Wembley, especially the lower tiers of Wembley were all seated and very staid. I used to hate sitting at Wembley in the lower tiers because you just can't see anything. It's better now because it's it's a horrible stadium, New Wembley. It's like corporate soullessness. So you're either miles and miles away, or if you're lower down, at least it's got bit more of a banking than the old Wembley. The old Wembley was just really shallow. So, I mean,
the view's good everywhere in New Wembley. It's just
the
the weird echoey noise.
Yeah. I mean, old Wembley, it was really shallow in the lower tiers and really deep, full of piss in the toilets. It's just a horrible place.
I never went there ever. Not to a concert, not to a football match. Never. I remember used to see it off from the train, I think, and just be unbelievably excited to see it as a kid. But no, never went there.
Anyway, the lead didn't last long, did it?
Certainly didn't. Jimmy Case hits back almost immediately, long ball into the box, and this is a hell of a goal. He takes it on his knee, touch, turn, wallop, goal. That's
bang, top
proper.
corner. Yes, really class, really high quality goal. Don't want to praise Liverpool players, but he's probably dead or something, so it's okay.
Especially not Jimmy Case, who was not necessary. Although, interesting hearing the old hard men chat, a lot of people not rating Jimmy Case as an old hard man. Maybe a bit more talk. I don't think I want to say this just in case he comes after me, because I'm pretty sure he could still beat me up, assuming he's still alive.
No idea.
But then it's not level for long, because this is like, and you said there's some sort of slightly static moments in the first half. This is electric, just end-to-end goal. We score, they score, we score again. Macari's shot hitting Greenhalgh on the arm. I think Greenhalgh is given this. Greenhalgh is given this goal.
Do you think it would pass the VAR and new handball rule test?
I don't think it would. No, and I also don't think it would have passed modern cameras deciding that this goal should belong to Jimmy Greenhalgh. Because is it Brian or Jimmy? It's Jimmy. I'm not
Brian.
confident in that. One of the Greenhalghs. I think it's Jimmy. But the
Jimmy. It's Jimmy.
Yeah, it's Jimmy. But it's Macari's goal anyway. Like, it's just like Greenhalgh does nothing and gets the goal.
Yeah, but he's still hitting. It's still deflected off his stomach or his dick or something, wherever it hit. I mean, if it hit him in the gentleman's, he's a harder man than perhaps Steve Case.
It's definitely Jimmy. Case is definitely Jimmy. Greenhalgh did really well to fight off the Liverpool defender in the build-up to that. It's like really makes himself awkward and kind of, it looks like the Liverpool defender's got the ball off him, but he kind of goes round him, like puts a leg round him to get the ball back. So kind of Greenhalgh didn't not deserve some credit at least. So we'll let him off the fact that he stole good guy Lou Macari's goal.
It's fine. Anyway, after that, I mean, Liverpool get back into it. I mean, United don't sit back by any means until maybe like the last 10 minutes or so, but there's definitely a cup game feel to United's, still pressing, but, Liverpool definitely kind of step it up a bit. Keegan's really involved. Steve Highway's really involved a lot.
He was, I don't know, when I heard his name mentioned, it rang some sort of ancient bell, but I don't remember him being talked about much. I've never really heard him talked about much. He looked like quite the player. He looked like a good player.
Good porn tash as well. Classic 70s haircut and tash.
How have we got to 40 minutes into this show and not talked about the hair? Like, this is unbelievable. The hair game in this match, almost every single one of them has exactly the same long hair helmet hair. So it's all centre parted, but not like curtain centre parted. It goes up before it goes down in every single one. They've all got it like almost exactly shoulder length at the front and just around the ears on the sides. It's a uniform.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, it's really funny. If you stuck them in some flares and some disco shirts, they could have been touring, all of them.
100%. 100%. They've all had the same do done for FA Cup final day, probably by the same hairdresser.
Yeah, that's right. And a lot of hairspray.
Yeah, but it's beautiful. A beautiful celebration of 70s hair, this game. Gordon Hill, just after we scored, Gordon Hill put a cross just ahead of Greenhoff, who just can't quite keep up with Hill, which, to be fair, trying to keep up with United's wingers must have been an absolute nightmare for their strikers at this point, because they just ping down the wings. It's unsophisticated and glorious.
Yeah.
Kind of miss this being a default thing in football.
There's another chance for Pearson. Clement saves. Keegan and Highway create an opening for Liverpool. Brian Greenhoff nearly scores an own goal, which is classic piece of defending. He's trying to head back to Stepney, who does claim it, but it could have gone terribly wrong. That would have been amusing, or not.
Well, I think I was relatively emotionally detached for this game, which is literally 2 weeks younger than I am. Like, if we're not over it by now, you're never going to get over it.
You mean you weren't watching?
Apparently I was, because my mum and dad, one of the few things they did together, they didn't last much longer, listeners, but they used to watch the FA Cup final together, although I don't know how watching an FA Cup final with like a 3-week-old baby or whatever would have gone down. I guess this was late May, so I was more than a month old by this point.
Wow, I mean, you're probably sitting up and cheering United on.
Yeah, I probably had the same haircut as all the players by that point.
I can confirm this is probably true, to carry on a theme.
What's your first FA Cup final that you remember?
83.
Okay.
So, yeah, I remember both of those games, yeah. I don't know where I watched them. I very clearly remember the 85 Cup final and where I was for that one. So, yeah.
I remember where I was for that one, but I I only remember one thing clearly, which was the goal. Yeah. But anyway, it was really... I'm sure I've never seen this game in full. I'm also absolutely sure I have seen the goals before because they all felt kind of familiar.
Yeah.
But it was really entertaining, like especially the second half. I mean, perhaps not surprisingly, given there's a bunch of goals fly in one after the other. But you can, like, when people talk about United having an identity and a DNA and all this kind of stuff, there is some truth to that. You know, the myth is made from somewhere, isn't it? And they really do like to play kind of, well, you could say 4-4-2, but this is definitely a 4-2-4. The wingers are wingers. They are not midfielders in this game.
Yes. We'll never see a side that, well, you can never say never, I suppose, but it would be surprising to see teams play like this ever again.
Oh, wouldn't it be great if they did?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose there was Ozzy Ardiles' Spurs side who played with five up front.
The thing is, the problem is, smart people look at it and go, well, wait a minute, what if we just, put the ball in the channels where their players aren't? And what if we, exploit the fact that they're playing an offside trap 3 yards behind the halfway line?
Well, yes, exactly. And loads of teams did, which is why there's more sophisticated teams winning stuff these days than straight up 4-2-4. But yeah, it was great fun. Nothing much happened in the last 10 minutes or so. McDermott had one shot which was so off that it didn't even go for a corner, which was kind of fun.
Always lovely to see one.
Someone from Liverpool I didn't catch who tried an overhead about 3 yards out, missed. Another scramble, and Kennedy hit the woodwork. The bar just clipped the top of the bar with about 2 minutes to go. But really, United held out pretty well, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if they deserve to win on the balance of play. I think the balance of play was fairly even, if not slightly in Liverpool's favour, really.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to... this is a game I would have liked to have seen an XG model for.
Yeah, some statistics. I mean, it's easy enough to go back and do it, of course, but someone has to sit there and map all the passes and where all the players are. And there's a few machine learning models that do that, but you still have to go program it all.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, I know we've all got a little bit more time on our hands than normal, but nowhere near that much.
One thing I thought was kind of amusing, how quickly they were up the stairs to go and collect the cup. And then Buchan gets it off, I think it's Princess Anne, is it? Or Margaret, one of the princesses, gives it to him. She says something to him. He gets the cup and runs off with it. There's no passing it down the line so everyone can lift it and the crowd can cheer. No, he's having that and he's off.
Superb. There is nothing more football nostalgia for me than FA Cup final presentations and all that. I am an absolute sucker for all that. Steve Bruce, passing it back to Schmeichel, just gets the good feelings going immediately. Even the times which are kind of not United related, like Wimbledon winning it and all that sort of stuff. It's love. Just FA Cup final day is. It just doesn't work anymore. It's not like this nostalgia carries over to me caring massively about United winning the FA Cup, although it was great that Rooney and Carrick got to complete the set before they finished, and it was nice to win it after such a long time, but it just is nowhere. I mean, it's obvious, this is the most obvious thing in the world, but it's nowhere near the same, and you could never make it the same again because it's a product of a bygone era, isn't it?
Yeah, and I just want, it's a larger question. What could be done with the FA Cup to make it feel special again? There's not much in an age when everyone's chasing Champions League riches, and in fact, this whole crisis right now may push us down the route of European Super Leagues and that kind of thing, which of course Juve and some clubs around Europe really want, even faster, because there's going to be a need for new cash injections and. Given, I think it was the transfer window podcast, maybe I can't remember. One of the footy podcasts was making the argument that UEFA have been pretty impotent in this current period. They're trying to bully leagues into completing the season. So they can complete the UEFA, the Europa League and the Champions League in sort of August, something like that. And the Dutch League, the French League and the Belgian League have just basically turned around and said no. So despite threats from UEFA that if they didn't have some sporting way of completing the season, they might not qualify for next season's Champions League. It's only one step beyond that to say, actually, we'll go and set up our own league backed by, Middle Eastern billionaires who will go fund it, or private equity or whatever. So.
Yeah, all a far cry from the 1977 FA Cup final where things felt really, really simple in every way possible. I mean, of course, actually, things weren't simple. Country was in a complete state. It was on the verge of one of the most right-wing governments in the country's history. There was, it was a total mess. And we were not
oil
far
shocks,
off.
massive unemployment and strikes and all of that, of course.
So,
what could be more simple than beating Liverpool at Wembley and the manager boshing the physio's wife?
And talking of eccentric managers and beating teams from Liverpool at Wembley, our next game is a request that we had on our Instagram, which I meant to say who requested. I'm loads behind in shout outs. I'll go through it and do some shout outs for the next one. But it's the 2015 FA Cup semi-final against Everton, a game I've talked about ad nauseum on the show, which I don't think I've ever watched the whole of on television because it's a rare one. I think this is the first one of these that I was at. You've had a couple, but this is the first one of these I've been at. So yeah, I'm looking forward to watching that one, and the Martial late winner and the absolute goonage, and I'm going to be watching a lot of the fan stuff from outside the stadium afterwards because that was extremely memorable.
Great. That'll be Friday's show. I've lost. I don't know about you guys. I've lost. I was going to say lost the run of myself. A little bit of that too. Definitely lost sense of what day is what. Yeah,
absolutely. So I look forward to speaking to you on Friday, Ed. Patreon backers, stay tuned. We're going to talk more about United and wingers for the bonus content today. And everyone else, we will see you on Friday.
Bye now.
With that.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.